Good morning. My name is Gail and I'm a San Bernardino Master Gardener. And I want to talk to you about the use of gray water in California urban landscapes. Our agenda today is a few housekeeping slides, a public service announcement, then I'll discuss our topic, and then the last page is references and resources. I'm happy to answer questions to the best of my ability. First, for the housekeeping, this presentation is being recorded. And if you could turn off your camera and your mic, that would be helpful. I can stop for questions. You can ask them out loud, or you can ask questions in the chat, which is monitored by the co-host. There is a PDF available of this presentation by emailing mgsanburn@ucanr.edu. You may also save the chat with links by clicking on the three dots in the upper right corner of the chat window and clicking save. Who are we, San Bernardino Master Gardeners? We're trained volunteers that share peer-reviewed research, primarily from the University of California, on a variety of topics. And we like to do education regarding soil health, gardening, food production, sustainable landscaping, and many others. We are part of the University of California Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Division. The program is how do I get that top thing out? Okay, well, the program, The program is taught through University of California Cooperative Extension, and they also have several other programs. These other programs, one of them is the EPNET, which is Expanded Food and Nutrition Education. They also have 4-H, Master Food Preservers, and Advisors for Urban Gardening, Natural Resources, Livestock, etc. And their website, if you want to do any research, is CE San Bernardino at ucanr.edu. We also have the San Bernardino Regional Seed Library, and on the screen is their Facebook page if you wanted to look into that. And now for our public service announcement. I wanted to talk to you about the citrus greening disease. It's called Huang Long Bing, and it's important that we all work together to stop the spread of this. On the left-hand side, you'll see a picture of a perfectly healthy lemon, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a picture of a lemon that has this disease. This disease is spread by Asian citrus psyllid. This insect carries the bacterial infection from tree to tree. On the upper left-hand side, you'll see two adult versions of this insect on the rib on the back of the leaf. On the upper right, you'll see both an adult and a nymph, which is a baby version of this insect, and that waxy substance that they produce. And that waxy substance has some sugars in it, so it's very attractive to ants. So if you notice that you have ants in your citrus tree, it's advisable to check that you don't have an infestation of this particular insect that carries this disease. On the bottom left, you'll see examples of what the leaves will look like. Actually, the middle picture is also the same. It's sort of mosaic yellowing of the leaves. And on the bottom right, you'll see this is a picture of an immature fruit because the fruit will not go to maturity. This bacterial disease is deadly, and there is no way to save the tree. So it's really important not to get it. And so you want to know what can we do to avoid getting this and avoid spreading it? On the right-hand side of this map shows the areas that are already infested and in quarantine. Recently, if you'll look at box 458 towards the upper right-hand side of the map, there's a little pink outline, and that is the area that has just recently expanded to be into the quarantine this year. So the first thing to do to prevent it from spreading is to not share citrus fruit or cuttings, and either way, in or out of the quarantine area. And if you are trimming your tree, they ask that you let the trimmings dry and to double bag them before disposing of them. And then, of course, reporting signs and symptoms. At the bottom, there's a phone number that you can call and report if you have signs or symptoms. They will come out and check your tree, and they will also remove your tree if in fact it is found to be diseased. And then you can take preventative measures. Neem oil will help to prevent will keep the insect away. There are other agents that you can use, but also keeping your tree healthy, making sure it gets the appropriate amount of water, and then making sure you check for this disease. These are other areas, other sites where you can get information about this disease. I have listed the CDFA and then the CaliforniaCitrusThreat.org. And that concludes that part. Now we're on to the Greywater presentation. First and foremost, I'd like to say that Greywater is a very complicated, can be a complicated subject. I am just giving you a very brief overview and only dealing with a small aspect of it. So under the California Health and Safety Code, greywater is defined as untreated wastewater that has not been contaminated by any toilet discharge. It has not been affected by infectious, contaminated, or unhealthy bodily wastes, and does not present a threat from contamination by unhealthful processing, manufacturing, or operating wastes. Greywater includes water from bathtubs, showers, and sinks, and clothes washers, washing machines. It does not include water from your kitchen sink or your dishwasher because of pathogens that might exist. But even limiting it to your clothes washer or your shower, there still is a potential for pathogens to enter the greywater, and they can be harmful to humans. These would be things such as E. coli, Salmonella, Giardia, and enteroviruses. So the use of greywater to irrigate landscape plants is increasing as we're having restrictions on the amount of watering in our state, in California. This is a way that you can irrigate some of your ornamental landscaping. Municipalities are amending their codes to encourage the use of home greywater systems, and a construction permit is no longer required for single family or two family greywater systems from a washing machine to an outdoor irrigation or disposal field, as long as it does not alter the household plumbing. This is just a little colorful picture. I'll show you better pictures in a minute. Greywater. So if you want to use your washer rinse water as greywater, you can't do it from a load that contain dirty diapers, hair dye, hazardous chemicals, such as greasy or oily rags, or waste solutions from photo labs or other hobbies or activities. If you washed any of that stuff, that rinse water would have to go into your sewer line as it currently does. This is a closer picture of how the system can be set up and how it works. The hose that exists from the washing machine is attached to a three-way valve that can be placed in the direction of the sewer should you have a load that you can't send to the garden, or you can flip it over and it can go to your garden. These are some more diagrams of how the three-way valve operates. You'll see in the lower right-hand corner, it's a little bit more detailed. So where would you use gray water? The picture on the left is obviously ornamental grasses and an ornamental shade tree. This is a perfect recipient area for your gray water. I believe the middle picture is also ornamental and could also use gray water for irrigation. The picture on the right, however, is edible. There's some chives and some other vegetable or herb plants that are being started there. And we cannot have gray water irrigating anything that would be edible or even to come in contact with those plants due to potential health risks. So what kind of laundry products should we be using? Well, liquid detergents are preferred rather than powders because of what powders contain, and hydrogen peroxide bleaches rather than chlorine-based bleaches. If you needed to use liquid detergent, powder detergent or regular bleach, again, you would direct that rinse water to your sewer as it currently goes. Here's some examples of some laundry detergents that are available that are gray water friendly. One is Oasis, Trader Joe's has one, and then there is Ecos. The following products should be avoided because they can harm the soil and plants. So sodium-containing compounds, borax, boron, peroxygen, petroleum distillate, chlorine bleach, water softeners that use sodium, and antibacterials. If these things are released into your garden, they can damage your plants and soil. So it's interesting to know that different washers have different amounts of rinse water, which can then become your gray water. So a front loader will have 10 to 25 gallons per washing machine load as rinse water, whereas a top loader has 40 gallons per washer per load. And many laundry to landscape systems discharge the water into a plastic pot that's sunk into the earth like this, or into a mulch basin. This is a diagram of mulch. Well, they're mulch basins, and then you see on the right-hand side that those are plastic pots in front of each plant. A mulch basin is an area where the soil, several inches of the soil, has been replaced with organic mulch. These systems work well for irrigating flower beds and small ornamentals. I've also recommended that people who want to keep some green grass could utilize this to water their grass. The basins for shade trees, though, and non-fruit trees, you want to be careful that the basins are outside of the drip line, because if you dug the soil underneath the canopy of the tree and put in mulch, it could create injury to the roots and cause the tree to be unstable. So there are some requirements regarding piping. It's recommended that piping for this be 1.5 feet from buildings and property lines, 100 feet from wells, creeks, and storm drains, and piped around obstacles, under or around hardscape. And many systems are set up via gravity. So this works well if the area you want to irrigate is a little lower than your washing machine. Sometimes with a gentle slope that on your property, that's going to be the easiest to irrigate by gravity. In a flat yard, distribution should be within 50 feet of the washing machine. And if you have a sharp downward slope, it's recommended to use tubing that curves so that there's not too much flooding going on. If you have an uphill area, some people will put in an additional pump, which again, that's out of the scope of this presentation. I was thinking personally of having mine go into a barrel, such as a rain barrel. However, and then, hand watering from that barrel. However, if you do that, the gray water needs to be used within 24 hours. And okay, here we go. So I'm sure everybody, you want to know, well, how is this really going to help? Well, how much water does my tree use? So an easy way to estimate the amount of water needed by a tree is to divide the square footage of the tree canopy by 4. And this will approximate the number of gallons per week that the tree or plant needs. So for example, a tree with a canopy of 80 square feet would need 20 gallons a week. So a typical medium-sized tree in Riverside requires approximately 20 to 40 gallons of water per week during the summer, and then less in the cooler months. On average, gray water from one laundry load from a front-loading machine, it would be able to irrigate 1 to 2 trees per week. And from a top loader, it would be able to irrigate 3 to 4 trees per week. Your system will need maintenance. Your mulch in the mulch basins will decompose over time. It'll need to be changed or added to every 3 to 5 years. It's important to be checking annually to make sure your water is flowing in where it's expected to flow. You want to adjust emitters to make sure the right amount is getting there, and then checking the emitters and fittings annually for leaks, just as you would be checking your irrigation systems if you have, and certainly if you've done drip line irrigation, you're familiar with the fact that the emitters oftentimes clog up and do need to be replaced. And that concludes this presentation. These 2 pictures are examples of plants and a beautiful ornamental garden that can be irrigated with gray water. This is a list of resources that I strongly advise looking into because it is a complicated subject, and these things will go more into depth as far as the setup, the design, the chemicals that are needed, and any kind of problems that could occur. I will put this back up. I'll leave this up right now, and thank you. That concludes this short presentation about gray water, and I'm happy to take any questions.